Hey, it's Luke. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how you can use a great video editing software that I use as well called Adobe Premiere Pro. Now, Adobe Premiere Pro is $20 a month, but it's really professional, and this isn't even sponsored. I just really like Adobe, and I think it's great. If you want to get into professional film editing, I think Adobe Premiere Pro is a great way to go. So today, I'm going to show you the basics about how you can use Adobe Premiere Pro, and hopefully if you like this video, you should give it a try because it's really good for filmmaking. Welcome back to another episode of Luke Talks, bros. Now I'm going to get into three things the three main ideas of Adobe Premiere Pro. I'm going to get into the setup, how everything's laid out, how everything is organized, and how you can use different commands and import your footage and all that. Now the setup. When you download Adobe Premiere Pro, you will open it and create a new project. Now it's going to ask you what ratio you want to use. You're going to start off with a blank canvas, and it's going to have different sections like the footage, which will be blank because you won't have any imported footage yet. You'll have the timeline, which will be blank because you don't have any footage to put in the timeline. You'll have a part up here, which will be basically blank because you don't have it'll be like what you're working with, but if you don't have any footage, you won't have anything to work with. And then you got the effects controls over here, which help manipulate the footage. The first thing you want to do is go to the import the footage by going File, Import Footage. And then it's going to ask you about the ratio. A ratio is basically like this is 16 by 9, and 1920 by 180 is the standard video format. You could change it. You could go 4 by 3, which is something else, but it's good to have 1920 by 180 and go to the best quality you can. So once you import the footage, you're going to drag and drop it into the timeline. And if it is not matched up with if your footage that you imported is not matched up with the file that you set up on the system, which is, let's say you want 1920 by 180, but your footage is smaller than that, you would ask, would you want to change the sequence settings? Usually you click change sequence settings so you can match it up with the file, but with the ratio. But if it's not that, if it doesn't look good, you can manipulate it. Now once you get to the timeline, you can move around your different clips and videos or pictures or PNGs or whatever file you have, and you can manipulate it on the timeline. Now some tools you can use are text. If you click T on the keypad, you'll show up with a text thing where you can just go to the tools next to the timeline and click that. But you can click T for text and type in what kind of text you want. Let's say you want the beginning of a movie, Star Wars or whatever. I don't know, just you can type in the text that way. And if you want to manipulate the text and have rolling credits, you can go to the effects controls, which is usually above, but you can also, if you don't like the setup, how it's the format of everything that it is predetermined, which is basically effects controls is right here, video showing what you're working with is right here, timeline's right here, importing's right here. You can change that. You can go to the windows and you can drag wherever, add and take away whatever you're working with, and you can change the format. So you can make the timeline up here and the whatever. You can change that. Now another tool you can use is the V tool. If you click the V letter on your keyboard, you'll just click with the dragger. So basically you can drag manipulate the footage with the V on the keypad, and you can cut the footage, and yeah, so that's what the timeline's for. Now, audio is important for any video production. So if you have a bad audio, you can edit it, or if it's quiet or whatever, you can go to these things called effects. So if you go to effects, you can amplify the audio. You can even do effects for video. You can do transition effects. All the effects that you want will be under effects on the windows, under the window bar. Now, another thing I actually am really into and good at is keyframing. Now, keyframing is basic. Remember how I talked about rolling credits? That is keyframing. So one piece of film being moved from one place to another, or one piece of file. So let's say rolling credits. So you'll go, so in the effect controls, you will need to go to the clock symbol, which is right next to whatever, if you're rotating it, or if you're moving it side by side, you're gonna have to click it's a little clock symbol on next to whatever you're working with, and you click that, and then it'll show this timeline, a mini timeline next to the effect controls, and you can click points on where in time these things are being moved, and they can control where they're being moved. That's all the effects and the effects controls, and I already got into the format. So now I'm going to get into exporting. Now, exporting is what determines your film. I accidentally, and I'm going to say this, I accidentally exported dollar per day, not HD. So the whole thing was exported, not HD. It's still technically HD because I re-exported to HD for video standards, but I accidentally exported it 480p. So this is really important if you want to make quality film. You're going to go to the export settings, save as, find a location to save it, and then you're going to want to make sure you go to MPEG or MP4 or whatever you're exporting it as, which file. I recommend MPEG, which is a video file. Go to HD 180p. If you do anything below that, you will have it kind of pixelated, and you want quality. You want it to be smooth, and you want the pixels to be 180 by 1920, so it looks clean. Because 480p, the days of 480p are basically over. If you use 480p, it will come out a little bit grainy. And if you use 360p, it'll come out even grainier, and 240p, that's just shit. So come on, use 180p when you export. Remember that, it's really important. And now find a good location to save your file, and then click export, and you got yourself a film. I really recommend Adobe Premiere Pro. It's really easy to use, it's really easy to get into. It's pretty corporate, like a lot of people know about it, like it's out there. So I recommend Adobe Premiere Pro, it's really good. And then next Wednesday, I'll be posting a video on how to make a speech. Stay tuned for that. Welcome back to another episode of Luke Talks, bros.